you can talk about Amon-Ra getting snubbed, but every hierarchy I've seen for Coach of the Year doesn't have Dan Campbell in the top 3. I was like, you wanna talk about a legacy award for where they started as 13-1, then they go 7-9, just barely miss the playoffs, where they go 1-7 and then almost win out. They knock off the Packers, and then this is the most wins that they've had since 1993, I believe, or franchise
91.
in 91. And this is the most wins you had in over 3 decades. This is the first time you've won your division or played a home playoff game since 1993. This is the most cursed franchise. This is one of the most dysfunctional franchises. And Dan Campbell goes in there and turns it around. And then they're now the 3 seed, and they end up winning 13 games this year, and because they beat the Dallas Cowboys, and Roger Goodell should have overturned the results of that game because we have evidence that the Lions won that game. But like, Dan Campbell should be the odds-on favorite for Coach of the Year. If Brian Daboll can win it for the Giants, like, oh, what a great job Brian Daboll did, bringing Daniel Jones and winning one possession games and being a wild card team. It's like, no, Dan Campbell deserves to be the Coach of the Year. You see him on the sideline. He's been the most aggressive coach here. He's going for fake punts. He's making crazy plays. And then Dak Prescott said that Dan Campbell, after the game, he's like, that guy is actually insane in the best way possible. Just with how he goes for it, how he's able to motivate that team, just the pain he's gone through. He's had the best hard knocks in NFL history. Everyone overlooked the Lions this year. They're still picking the Packers. Some people were picking the Bears. Some people were picking the Vikings. And then the over under for the wins for the Lions this year was 9.5 still. 9.5 for the Lions.
Which
And they won,
we cashed.
which we cashed, and they won 13 games this year, if you include the game that Roger Goodell should have turned over. So if anyone should have been snubbed and should be on that list, it is Amon-Ra St. Brown for the Pro Bowl, but it's also Dan Campbell because he's the Coach of the Year this year.
Yeah. And they mentioned Kevin Stefanski, D'Amico Ryans, and Shane Steichen. Don't get me wrong. Shane Steichen had a great season, and he's definitely deserves to be in the conversation. But I would take him over. I would take Dan Campbell over Shane Steichen in this situation,
Yeah.
because the Colts, it's like you look at the Colts team and what they, I know they exceeded expectations. You had Gardner Minshew, all this storyline there, but everything you said there with Dan Campbell and what the Lions have been, and them being able to be as good as promised as all the expectations started to mount for them, like,
Better.
yeah, like they've been able to be arguably the best team. Had they have won that game, and obviously I think the 49ers would have played their starters had this happened, but had they won that Cowboys game, they would have been the 1 seed.
Yeah.
Potentially. Had the Rams beat the 49ers with all their starters. So, I mean, I don't know. I think that's definitely something to consider for a team that I don't think has ever been the number 1 seed.